Hi, I'm Carly. These are my lovely people watching me, the audience. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay. So we all love a story about how someone messes up a word and thinks it's something else. So this is the story of how a monkey got its short tail. Once upon a time, back in the day, there was a man and a woman, and they lived together in the mountains in a tiny shack. Now the shack was so old and so rickety that every single time it rained, the roof leaked. So one night, it was especially dark and cold and rainy, and the woman, she says to her husband, she goes, "Oh, husband, the dreadful roof leak is back. It just comes when it's dark and cold and rainy." And the husband, he says to the wife, he goes, "Wife, yeah. A roof leak is something dreadful indeed, but, fate is fate." Meanwhile, outside the house, there's a wolf sneaking around, and he's about to knock on the door and eat whatever inside. But then he hears the woman talking about the dreadful roof leak, and he's like, "Oh, this animal sounds bigger and scarier and stronger than I am. I'm just going to go somewhere else and look for something else to get." So he starts making his way towards the barn. Meanwhile, at the barn, there's a horse thief, and he's trying to get into the stable, but the door just won't open. And then he hears the rustling of the wolf behind him, and he's like, "Oh, nice. The horse isn't even in the stable yet. I'll wait for it to walk by and jump on it." So he waits. He waits and waits and waits, and the wolf comes by, and he leaps onto the wolf. And this time, the wolf is like, "Oh my gosh, the roof leak! The roof leak is on me!" And he starts running as fast as he can. At this point, the horse thief is on top of him, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is a strange horse that they have here." Meanwhile, the wolf is completely terrified. He jumps over this old well with such a force that he knocks the horse thief off into the well, and he keeps running. So the wolf comes up to a monkey, completely terrified. He's like, Monkey, come here. You're not going to believe this, but there was a roof leak, and he was on my back, and he was holding on so tight. He was like a leech. And, I thought I was going to die. And then the gods, they saved me. He ripped him off my back and into the well. And the monkey, he's over here. He's like, "What? That sounds like an incredible story, but I don't even know what a roof leak is, and I don't believe you." And the wolf, he's like, "No, monkey. Follow me. I'll bring you to the well. I'll show you where he is." The monkey was like, "All right, I'll go." So they both get to the well, and the wolf, he's like, "I bet you he's still in there. He's still in there." And the monkey was like, "I bet you he isn't." He climbs up onto the well, puts his long tail inside to fish around for whatever inside. Meanwhile, the horse thief gets hit in the face by his long tail, and he reaches up and he's like, "Whoa, nice, it's a rope." So he starts trying to climb up the monkey's tail, and meanwhile, the monkey is sitting there, and he feels the tug of the horse thief on his tail, and he thinks it's the dreadful roof leak, so he screams in panic and terror. He goes, "Ah! You were so right! It's the roof leak!" And he starts trying to shake him off, and his face gets so red because he's tugging and tugging with all his might, and finally his tail breaks in two. And from that day on, the monkey's face has always been super red, and his tail has always been super short.